Manchester United lose 1-0 at home to Aston Villa. Yeah, disappointing, very, very disappointing. And maybe the result isn't just a loss, it's not just a one-off loss. Maybe this is actually something which has enlightened a lot of people, including myself, and maybe alerted a lot of people as to the problems at this football club right now and where we're going potentially if we don't fix up. Before we get into it, please do leave your thoughts in the live chat and also the comment section as well down below. I want to hear what you guys have to say on the game, and also if you haven't already, hit that like button if you enjoy the content and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. So let's just get into it. Let's break it down, because in the end of the day, I'm probably not going to do this for too long. I've got some other stuff I want to do this evening, so I just want to run through the game. And anyway, I don't want to spend too long on that sort of a performance. An absolute shocker of a performance from Manchester United. And I'm going to be honest, I'm sure if some of you would have watched my preview of this game, and I was pretty confident. I was pretty confident that, even though I knew the game was going to be close, I always thought we were going to get the 3 points. I always felt that at Old Trafford this season we've been very, very good, very, very strong. But obviously it wasn't wasn't to be, excuse me. Kortney Hause got the goal in the 88th minute. We even got a penalty which we could have scored to at least salvage a point out of the game, but it wasn't to be, and it was a 1-1 draw. And to be honest with you, I don't think on that performance we would have really deserved the draw. Even though we created more chances in terms of shots, they had a lot better quality chances than we did. I think Target should have scored the back post, he should have just tapped it in. So Aston Villa could have been 2 or 3-0 up at the end of that game. So we almost need to count ourselves lucky, and that's the frustrating thing for me. It really, really is a worrying sign, because as I said, these are the sort of games where you are home to Aston Villa, which if you are a title contender, a top team, a proper title contender, you win those games, and you probably win them comfortably. And I know Aston Villa, credit to them, they're a very decent side with decent individuals. They had a few injuries going into this game today. They weren't at full strength. I'm sure there'd be Villa fans who would say that they were missing a few players. That wasn't even their best team on the pitch today. But we found it difficult to deal with them. I think they did create a lot of good quality chances, and most of our chances were pot shots. I mean, Mason Greenwood today, I thought actually looked pretty lively, but he was a little bit selfish at times, and I think his end product had to improve in this game. And I'm not going to say it has to improve overall, because let's be honest, Mason Greenwood's end product is probably the best in the team at times. So I'm not going to say that Mason Greenwood had shocking end product, because just basing that off of the evidence of one game is just ridiculous. But for me, Mason Greenwood today just didn't have that end product. I thought that defensively we were all over the place. We were making mistakes with our passing. I mean, really, Ollie Watkins should have put them 1-0 ahead very earlier than what they did. Obviously, the pass back to De Gea had too much force on it. De Gea then had to kind of sprawl across to parry it away. Came out to Watkins, and it was well blocked on the line. But in the end of the day, these are the sort of mistakes that will get punished eventually. You can't go through a game making those sort of mistakes and being so sloppy on the ball and get away with it. And Aston Villa obviously made us pay in the 88th minute, and they probably could have done earlier as well if they were a little bit more clinical. We obviously had the penalty as well to potentially level the scores, and we missed that as well. I could not believe it when I heard Bruno Fernandes skied the ball over the bar. I could not believe it. Honestly, he's the postman when it comes to penalties. He's only missed one penalty for Manchester United in his whole career, and in the pressure situation he puts it over the bar. Now, if it was me, and I'm not sure what you guys think, I would have given the penalties to Ronaldo. I feel like he's someone who we've seen in those situations bury the penalty. He's missed a clutch himself. I'm sure he's missed penalties in the past. He's missed quite a few penalties in the past, but I just feel like in the big moment, in the clutch moment, he's someone who lives for those types of opportunities, and I just feel like it would have been perfect for him to get on the score sheet. Obviously, the stats would say that Bruno is our best penalty taker, but at the same time, I would have given it to Cristiano Ronaldo. But I'm not going to suggest that that's the reason we didn't get a point. The reason we didn't get a point is because we weren't good enough. You can't just blame a penalty miss. People will miss penalties. in games. And even though we've got a very decent penalty record, players will it will happen. Players will miss penalties. So you have to look at the overall performance as well. You can't just, say, oh, well, if we scored that penalty, it would have been a completely different game. It would have been a completely different result, but the game itself wouldn't have changed. The performance wouldn't have changed. A few of you guys have joined us. Thanks for joining. Box says it was rubbish. I think that's a fairly decent account of the game in one word. Ricky says, most annoying part of this is that Liverpool and Chelsea both dropped points today. Big opportunity. Well, exactly, the quality of that top four. How many more times this season are we going to have multiple teams drop points in this title race? Are we even in a title race? On the evidence of this game and the last few games, not a chance. Not a chance we're in a title race. But thanks for joining, Ricky. Appreciate it. Box believes we're going nowhere. Ricky says, Bruno should never take penalties when you have a serial winner like Ronaldo on the pitch. Listen, it's not even the fact that, Ronaldo's a serial winner. I just think that in the biggest clutch moments, yes, we've seen Bruno Fernandes be clutch, but Cristiano Ronaldo, if we didn't bring him in to score penalties in that sort of situation, then I don't know why we brought him in, because I know he didn't score and he was pretty anonymous in the game. I'm going to be honest, he didn't really have too many touches of the ball inside the opposition's box where you'd want him to have the touches, but I just feel like that's a sort of moment where he'd be completely anonymous in a game, but he'd step up and score the penalty. And obviously they gave it to Bruno Fernandes, but I probably would have given it to Ronaldo. But hey, that's hindsight. As I said, it's hindsight. And, he obviously skied the penalty. And, as I was saying, stats would suggest that Bruno Fernandes is a top penalty taker. He's only missed one penalty for Manchester United in his whole Man United career to date. So, I'm not going to blame Ole for that. But what I will say is that Ole has a lot to answer for in terms of the tactics displayed, the lack of ambition, really. It's worrying to me. And I have been someone who has backed Ole quite a lot, even recently when we haven't really been performing that well, but we have kind of been nicking the results. The biggest example, obviously, that West Ham game. And today did frustrate me quite a lot. The way that the game was managed, the way that we didn't really show any attacking impotence or any sort of, desire to get better going forward in terms of the tactics we deployed. I mean, we brought on Cavani in the 80th minute, but realistically, from my point of view, we didn't really need to bring on a striker. Yes, of course, Cavani is a great goal scorer and someone who, could score a goal out of nothing. But we have the forward players on the pitch. We just weren't giving the service to the likes of Ronaldo and then these guys up front. And I think if we improve the service, if we improve the attacking intent that we had in the last 10 minutes, I think we would have been a lot better. But the fact that we are having to try and win the last 10 minutes against Aston Villa with the team we've got, it's worrying to me. It is worrying. Box believes we're in a top four race. Yeah, I think you're right, to be honest. I think you're right, especially if we're playing right now. The way we're playing right now, I just don't see us competing with the likes of Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool. I think, those three teams put on very coherent, competent and impressive overall team performances. We haven't really seen too many coherent, all-round team performances from Manchester United. We've seen some decent results, winning 4-1 against Newcastle, 5-1 against Leeds are decent wins. Winning against West Ham, winning against Wolves. They're not easy places to go, those two stadiums, but obviously the result is all that matters. But at the same time, we haven't really seen that consistent, coherent performance, and that is the one thing that you can't do to win a title. You can't rely solely on individual brilliance to win a title. And we've got a lot of players in this squad that could produce a brilliant individual moment. I mean, if Fernandes had scored that penalty, you'd be saying we've got away with a point. And in some ways, it would be a bit of a misleading stat to say that we had gained a point from a losing position. Because I think we would have lost two. But at the same time, we are all about moments right now, and I think someone did say that to me back a few months ago, and I wasn't sure, but I feel like right now the way we're playing, we are 100% a moments team. I just want to say welcome RJ, welcome Roberta Jaguar, thanks for joining, mate, appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. He's saying he doesn't know how to feel about Ole. I think there's a lot of United fans out there who are feeling that way. I feel like there are three camps at the moment, but I think one of the camps is getting bigger, and I think the one that's getting bigger after today's performance is the one that's kind of in between the two of Ole in and Ole out, of course. I think there is still a lot of Ole out, and I still think there's a decent amount of support for Ole. I still think even though we have lost the game today, there will be a lot of United fans that maybe go to the games and sing his name at the stadiums who will really want Ole to stay, and I understand that, and I want Ole to succeed. I want him to succeed so badly at this football club, but you have to call a spade sometimes, and I think as of right now, he's not exactly, his team is not exactly producing the most exciting football to watch, and I can't remember the last dominant display we've had. I mean, with the team we've got and the teams we've played, we should have produced at least 3 or 4 dominant displays, and we haven't really seen that. Box says it's not about losing because losses are always possible. It's about the consistent poor level of play and performance which is the issue. I agree. As we've said, missing penalties, losing matches, that is natural to happen, in a Premier League season. The fact that Arsenal are the only team in history to go invincible just shows how difficult it is. Teams, even the best teams, will lose in a Premier League season at some point. But we would accept those losses if we saw a consistent level of good performance, throughout the season. And if we lost 3 or 4 games because maybe we're unlucky, maybe we just didn't turn up, maybe we were beaten by the better team on the day, that's fine. Fans can take that. But realistically, so far this season, we haven't seen that level of consistency that the people we brought in and the personnel we've got in this team would suggest that we could produce. I think this team has got a lot of potential, but we're not seeing it at this moment in time. We are not seeing it. Let's see. Ricky says, under Ole, our main strength has always been counter-attacks. With CR7, that's now gone. Yeah, I mean, I think potentially, if we, when we get Rashford back, I think he'll be a big boost to this team. I think we do lack a lot of pace on that left-hand side. When Pogba plays on that left-hand side, he's had some decent games there. But for me, I just feel like we need to have pace on both sides. And Pogba is much better in an advanced midfield role. I don't think he's a left midfielder, and I don't think he's a left winger. I don't really believe that he's that comfortable on that left-hand side. But obviously, you have to ask him. But for me, I just don't think he performs that well there. I think he performs much better in the middle, being able to dictate play and go forward with license as well. Because right now, because we don't have a good CDM, if we were to put Pogba in a partnership with someone, he would not feel like he would be able to go forward, and Ole wouldn't be comfortable with Pogba going forward either. So we have to play 2 kind of defensive-minded midfielders, and Pogba has to go on the left-hand side, which just, for me, is not a comfortable position for him. So, for me, I just feel like, it's frustrating. I think we're not getting the best out of Pogba, and I think when Rashford comes back, it will make a difference. But that midfield needs sorting out, plain and simple. G from Red Devil Studio, thanks for joining, mate. Appreciate it. He says Liverpool drawing makes this day a bit better. Of course, obviously Liverpool dropping points. It's been a mad day, really. I mean, I did not expect City to go to Stamford Bridge and win, and I didn't expect that result. So it's been a day for mad results, and sometimes that happens, but it's unfortunate that we weren't able to capitalise. But as well, make sure you check out his channel, guys. Red Devil Studio, brilliant stuff over there. Make sure you do go and support him. RJ says, I wouldn't say we're out of the top 4. However, we need to improve since we are going through a rough run of games like on Wednesday. Yeah, and obviously now with injuries as well. Maguire, Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw are all injured for the Villarreal game. So we're going to have a fresh back 4. We're probably looking at, Dalot, Lindelof, Varane and Telles. It's gonna be difficult for them. Varane's gonna have to marshal that back 4. But yeah, going into October, it's gonna be a very, very difficult run of fixtures. And if we play like we do what we did today, we are in deep shit. We are in deep shit if we play like we did today. Plain and simple. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's not even my picture. It's always been there in this room. But I just thought, it's a good aesthetic, isn't it? Yeah, it's a good aesthetic. Thanks for noticing. Mo's joined us as well. Thanks for joining, Mo. Appreciate it. He says, I think it's very clear to see that Ole is exactly what we brought him in to be, an interim manager. I'm starting to believe that he doesn't have what it takes to really compete for silverware. And I was seeing a lot of people on social media saying a similar thing, Mo, to you, in that, Ole has, in some ways, done exactly what we wanted him to do when he was brought in. And I've seen some people saying, maybe this is the time for him to step aside. And I think most United fans, when I say most, I mean pretty much all United fans, would agree with the idea that we don't want to see Ole sacked. We don't want to see him, kicked out of this football club. If he was to resign himself and go on his own terms, I think, all United fans would much rather that than a sacking. However, if he doesn't want to go on his own terms, then I guess, obviously he has to be sacked. But firstly, I just want to put out there that I'm not 100% Ole out. I wouldn't say I'm 100% Ole out, but I am starting to have more doubts than I used to have. I'm starting to have a few more doubts than I used to have. That's all. I think the start of this season when we beat Leeds and we obviously beat Wolves, I was just thinking maybe we are going to get a bit lucky this season. Maybe actually when it starts to click, we're going to look really good. But recently, we have been poor. We have been poor. There's no doubt about it. I do know there's a marathon, not a sprint, and we've still got another, 29 odd games, what is it, or, 30, 31, 32 games left of the season. So it's a marathon, not a sprint, and we didn't start well last season, and we ended up coming second. But when you're in a title race, you have to perform consistently better than we are right now, and there's no doubt about that. So yeah, Ricky says, with Bruno in the team, I think we always use two defensive midfielders. Yeah, and Ole seems to like Fred and McTominay, and I really don't understand why. And, the amount of opposition that we have seen for the Fred and McTominay partnership, I'm surprised it hasn't really filtered down. I mean, I'm sure there'll be people looking out for it. But maybe he's just thinking, I'm the manager and I make the decisions. In which case, I do like a manager that is strong-minded in that way, that can make their own decisions. But I just feel like there are some glaring errors being made in team selection and in tactical decision-making. Every single week, there are reoccurring errors that they frustrate me because, every great manager has a few games where they just don't manage it correctly. I mean, look at Pep Guardiola, one of the greatest managers in football history. I know, as a United fan, it pains me to say it, but he is one of the greatest managers in football history if you look at his CV. Look at the way he managed that Champions League final. One of the worst bits of mismanagement and poor team selection I've seen. So even the great managers can do that, and I think you can accept that sort of mismanagement if mostly consistency, and from Ole we haven't really seen that, in my opinion. Obviously I'm still going to back him and root for him to do well and root for the team to do well, but I think a few doubts are starting to creep in for me. Daz has joined us as well. Matt, thanks for joining, Daz. Appreciate it. Make sure to check out Daz's football stand. He sums it up pretty well with that CAC performance. Pretty well sums it up, mate. Brendan, thanks for joining us. I actually think Donny van der Beek is a missing piece and that Fernandes is not a guaranteed starter. Yeah, I mean, you know what? After his hat-trick against Leeds, he hasn't done too much. I know, obviously, he got the assist against West Ham, but I don't know. I just feel like we're not getting the best out of the players on the pitch. If you look at that team on paper, it's one of the best teams in European football to date. I will not be debated on that point. I really won't. I believe that this team is one of the best teams in Europe on paper. If you look at the names on paper, this is one of the hardest teams to beat in Europe. But in principle, we're not getting the best out of those players. Simple as that. And if you don't get the best out of your players, it's going to be difficult. Owen says, struggling with your voice celebrating Villa's. Don't even suggest that, mate. And I've got a bit of a cold. Thanks for joining anyway. Appreciate it. I can't believe you try and do that to me on my own stream. God, I can't believe you. I cannot believe you. Mo says, maybe keep him at the club as a director of football or as an assistant coach. Wouldn't be too good for his ego, but would hate to see him leave. You're right, his dedication and commitment to the club is there to see. Yeah, listen, there's no doubt in my mind that he wants the club to do well. He loves the club. Obviously, he's got a lot of debt of gratitude to the club for, making him a Manchester United player, and he's obviously, done a lot for us as fans and done a lot for the club, in terms of winning silverware and being, the babyface assassin off the bench. But, football skills don't necessarily translate to managerial skills, and I still think you have to give him credit. Don't get me wrong, we have to give him credit for what he's done so far to get us to this point, to finish twice in the Champions League places when, Mourinho and Van Gaal only did it for one season in their tenure. You have to give them credit in that sense. But you do also have to point out where he's going wrong as well. I think it's a difficult place that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer finds himself in at the moment. It's a very, very difficult place. And G's mentioning if we lose against Villarreal, he's gone. And that just shows how difficult a place he's in right now. And I think there's a lot of United fans who, if we lost against Villarreal and it was looking like we weren't going to get out of our Champions League group, I think it'd be difficult. It'd be difficult to argue that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the right man to take this club forward. I really do believe that. I know, obviously, it's early in the season, don't get me wrong, but today, I think, was a culmination of a lot of poor performances. And I just feel like the game was tactically mismanaged. I think the way the players on the pitch responded wasn't great. It just didn't look good. But I will give credit to Aston Villa. I think they did well. They scored their goal. And really, on the day, they were the better side. So, taking nothing away from them. Really not taking anything away from them. But we need to look at ourselves as well. Box is saying Pep starts 1 DM versus Chelsea away. Ole starts 2 DMs versus Aston Villa at home. It does say a lot. It does say a lot. Mo says Pep's midfield is a lot more balanced than ours, to be fair. True. And Brendan says, can we stop talking about Ole in or out and just focus on what needs doing and improving? Well, to be honest with you, mate, you're probably talking to the wall on that one. I think a lot of people have already kind of gone in on the Ole in, Ole out train. But I think, it is right. We do need to improve in a lot of areas. But I actually think the personnel on the pitch is very, very strong. This team, if you gave it to, a Jose Mourinho, a Pep Guardiola, one of these high-quality managers, would they do better than Ole? That's a question I want to pose to you, really. As I said, I'm not Ole out. I'm actually not Ole out, but I'm starting to have doubts. I am starting to have doubts. So if you want to know my position on it, that is my position. I'm not Ole out just yet, but I am starting to have doubts. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because I really did think that Ole was going to prove people wrong. He obviously proved people wrong in terms of when he first joined, everyone thought he was the odds-on favourite to be sacked, and Lampard then got sacked before him, and all this sort of stuff happened. And I wanted that to be the same again, but it's looking difficult for Ole. But when his job's on the line, we all know what happens. So maybe we're in for a very, very good run. Who knows? Mo reckons we improve by getting a better manager. Box says that's Ole's job. Yeah, true, it is Ole's job. And Ricky says Ole's is only gone if we finish outside the top 4. And you know what? I think you're right. I think if he finishes inside that top 4, he's going to stay at this club. And I've seen a few people comparing our situation to Arsenal's situation in that, we know the manager's not good enough, but, Ole, if he finishes in the top 4, is going to keep getting a new contract. I'm not sure how much I agree with it, but I can see some similarities. But, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, I was only going to be live for a short period of time. After my voice is hurting a little bit. I've got a bit of a cold, as you probably can hear. So I do apologise for the sound of my voice. Hopefully, it'll be better the next time we speak to each other. But, yeah, disappointing result. But thank you, everyone, who's tuned in and has turned out for this live stream. Really do appreciate all of your support. So thank you very much, guys. Honestly, really do appreciate it. Hit that like button as well if you haven't already and you do enjoy the content. And subscribe to the channel if you are new. Feel free to share this stream around and share the channel around on your social media platforms if you want to. And if you're watching as a video on the replay, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. I want to hear what you guys have to say about what I said and also what you thought of the game. But until we speak again, thanks for watching, guys. Really do appreciate it. Hope you have a good rest of your weekend. And as I said on Twitter, I just turn off your phone, maybe watch a bit of the sport tonight. I know there's a bit of boxing, a bit of Ryder Cup, all that sort of stuff. just enjoy the rest of your weekend. North London derby tomorrow. Palace Brighton on Monday. Just forget about United for a little bit. That's all I do. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.